This may look like a normal box of hay, but it has a surprise inside. Stay tuned to find out more. What's up, everybody? I'm Diane from Hooks Holland, bringing you rabbit info and bunnertainment since 2015. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel. I know that 80% of you are not subscribed, which blows my mind. So I'm talking to you. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. This is Cora. She is a solid cream Holland doe. And in this video, I am going to tell you the story of how Cora delivered her babies in a giant box of hay. Here are her babies, where she delivered them in the hay box. This is 1 week old, and this is 2 weeks old. So this is a rabbit nest box, and this is what I give all of my does before they deliver. Typically, I will give them their nest box about 3 to 4 days, up to a week before they deliver. The problem with giving this to them earlier than that is that sometimes they like to use this as a litter box, which obviously is not ideal for the babies that are about to be born. Now, Cora has had litters before in the nest box, so I know she knows how to use it. And her last litter was 9 months ago, so it wasn't fresh in her mind, I guess, but she had a different plan in mind, and this is how it came about. Cora was due in about 2 weeks, and rabbit gestation, at least for Holland Lops, is typically 30 to 32 days, with 31 or the end of day 30 being pretty average in my experience. So it was 2 weeks before she was due, and she was running around the rabbit barn most of the day. I like to let a different bunny out each day or throughout the day, especially when it's too cold or too rainy for them to go outside in their play areas. Cora was in the barn, and apparently she decided that she really wanted to build her nest 2 weeks before her babies were due. And what she proceeded to do was hop in this box of junk hay. So the hay in this box here is all of the hay the bunnies have picked through, and I've swept it up and put it in this box, and it's going to go out to our goats because they'll pretty much eat any hay. And then the fresh hay is kept in the wire hay bin. So one day Cora decided to hop in the box, and she just started carrying mouthfuls of hay from the hay box all the way across the bunny barn and into a corner, this little tiny cramped corner. And by the end of the day, she had a nest built, and there was this trail of hay just strewn about the path that she had been following. And it was quite something to marvel at, and also entertaining when I played it back on the surveillance camera I have out there. But the problem with the babies being in that back corner is that not only was it difficult for me to get back there, I don't even know if I could have reached the nest to check on the babies, definitely not very well, but it also was cold. It was on the concrete, and it was way back in there, and there was two exterior walls right there, and this is the middle of February. Well, this was the beginning of February at the time she built it, and I was concerned the babies would get too cold. So I had to remove her nest, and I blocked off that area. And I just figured that she would forget about it. And then when I finally gave her nest box, she would just use that. The following day, she was out again, and I came in to feed the bunnies late that afternoon, and I found that she had chewed open 2 bags of the pine pellets that I put in the bunnies' litter boxes. So these are 40-pound bags, and I had probably 3 or 4 stacked on the floor, and she opened 2 of them. So there was this avalanche of pellets, and I just thought she had gotten mad and was just being a feisty hormonal doe. And then I saw that she had bulldozed these pellets behind the hay bin and some plastic totes that I had and was piling them up in a makeshift nest by my sink and hose reel area. She even had parts of the plastic bag in there. There was some hay in there as well. It was hilarious, but at the same time, it made a big mess for me to clean up. So I said, okay, Cora, this is too early to give you your nest box, but you obviously want one. So I went ahead and I put the nest box in her enclosure and I put her in with it. And the next day I found she had a nice nest going in here. So I thought, okay, she's content with it and that's that. I was wrong, obviously. So it was day 31 and she had not had her babies yet. And I let her run around in the bunny barn. And I came back to check on her later that afternoon and I could see a couple drops of blood on the concrete floor. And I knew that she probably either was in labor or already had the babies. So I excitedly checked the nest box. And this is what I found. A whole lot of nothing. No indication that she had been in there when she delivered. So I knew that little stinker had delivered them somewhere in the bunny barn. And so I set about exploring the bunny barn, trying to figure out where they were. Lo and behold, there were tufts of fur in the hay box. And I dug and I could see that there was a little burrow, a little den down in there. And I felt warm, wiggly kits down in there. And it was 2 little babies. She also had one that was stillborn. So she had 3 total, but only 2 were live. And they seemed pretty warm, but my concern was they weren't close to the heater. And this was the middle of February. Pretty cold here in Ohio, and I didn't want the babies to get cold. And they don't have any fur when they're born. They're really pretty ugly, look like little tiny mice. And so I took the babies and I put them in her nest box in her enclosure, and I put her in with them. And now typically after a doe kindles her babies, she feeds them sometime that night or early the next morning, usually when you're not around and it's in the dark. So I checked on the babies the next day and they did not have fat, full tummies. You can see when there's milk in there, it's kind of an opaque whiteness. You can see that there's milk in there and they did not have that. So I knew she didn't feed them. So that little stinker outsmarted me. So I put her babies back in the hay box, let her loose, which is obviously what she wanted, and wanted to have her babies in the hay box. And sure enough, a couple hours later, I checked on the babies and they had fat tummies already. So she fed them very quickly. And so for the past 2 weeks now, she has had the run of the bunny barn and has been feeding her babies. And they're super adorable now. And I'll show you footage of them later. She has her food and her water. And she even has a litter box that she uses most of the time. Now she is not spayed, so she still has a desire to mark her territory. So I do find little poo trails around the bunny barn. Most of the time I find her sitting near her box of hay. She definitely stands guard over it and wants to make sure that her babies are safe. For those of you wondering, I do always handle the babies as soon as they're born and then every day thereon, if not more than once a day, because you have to make sure that they're all alive and that they're being fed and that they don't have any clogs on their vent area. And I've never had a problem with the mom not going back to feed them. So that's the interesting story of Cora having her babies in the hay box. They're nice and full, fat tummies, and they've stayed pretty warm. I put a rug underneath their box of hay. Plus they have all the hay that's in that box and her fur. And now that they have their own fur and it's also warming up outside, they're just fine. There's a lot of trouble they can get into in the bunny barn, and I'm worried they'll wedge themselves somewhere and not be able to get out. So just to be safe, I will be putting them into an enclosure probably within the next week or 2 because they just opened their eyes and they're starting to become a little bit mobile, but they still sleep most of the time, as you will see in the footage coming up. I'll end the video with some super adorable footage of the babies at 1 week and then again at 2 weeks. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'm pretty sure you found the babies adorable. So go ahead and drop a like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you are not already. As always, if you want more rabbit information, you can find it on our website at ohiohollandlops.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. Is this thing on? Ooh, it's on. You like my shiny new mic? What's up, everybody? I'm Diane from Hooks Holland, bringing you wabbit information. I can't talk.